Shedeur Sanders walked into Sunday with a real opportunity, not a symbolic one, not a we'll see what happens. This was a game against an 11-4 Bills team at home with national eyes watching and with Cleveland's quarterback future still very much unresolved. Two fourth quarter chances to take the lead, two moments where a young quarterback can flip a narrative in real time. Instead, the questions followed him off the field. The Browns' that 23-20 loss to Buffalo dropped them to 3-12, but the record almost feels secondary. This game was about evaluation, about whether Sanders could rise above chaos, mistakes, and pressure and show Cleveland something it can build around. What he showed instead was a familiar mix of promise, flashes, and costly breakdowns when the momentum demanded control. The opening stretch actually felt encouraging. Sanders was sharp early, poised, decisive. He completed his first 8 passes for 84 yards, capped by a touchdown to tight end Harold Fannin Jr. The ball came out on time. His footwork looked calm. He even showed comfort, manipulating the pocket rather than panicking inside it. For a brief window, it looked like the Browns might have found some rhythm against a Buffalo defense that's been vulnerable in stretches this season. Then came the reminder of how thin the margin is. His first interception wasn't reckless, but it was damaging. A pass behind rookie running back Quinshon Judkins hit the shoulder pad, popped into the air, and landed in the hands of Jordan Poyer. It wasn't a bad decision, so much as a bad miss. But in the NFL, the scoreboard doesn't care which one it was. Momentum flipped, and the Bills immediately leaned into what they do best. James Cook became the engine of the game. Buffalo didn't need Josh Allen to take over early. They leaned on Cook, and Cleveland had no answer. Cook averaged over 11 yards per carry in the first half, slicing through lanes, breaking tackles, and making defenders miss in space. His 44-yard touchdown run in the first quarter was a snapshot of the afternoon. Vision, burst, and patience all in one play. 2 touchdowns on just 9 carries before halftime told the story clearly. Buffalo was in control without forcing anything. Cleveland, meanwhile, absorbed another gut punch. Quinshon Judkins, who had already been dealing with the growing pains of a rookie season, went down with a broken leg after a tackle in the open field. It was a brutal moment for a team already playing out the string of a lost season. Sanders briefly left the game as well, blood visible on his throwing hand pinky, but he returned quickly. Toughness was never the question. Execution was. The second interception was worse. Early in the third quarter, deep in Cleveland territory, Sanders tried to make something happen and paid for it. Joey Bosa got his hand on the pass, popping it straight up into the waiting arms of defensive tackle Daquan Jones. That's the kind of turnover that kills field position, confidence, and game flow all at once. Buffalo turned it into points, pushing the lead to 23-10 and placing the Browns squarely in catch-up mode. And yet, Cleveland didn't fold. In fact, the most impressive drive of the game came after that mistake. A 14-play, 67-yard march that chewed up more than 8 minutes of clock, leaning heavily on the run. 11 rushing attempts against a Bills defense ranked near the bottom of the league in stopping the run. For a Browns team that had averaged just 92.4 rushing yards per game over the previous 14 weeks, this was a statement of intent. They finished with 160 rushing yards, that controlling tempo and finally forcing Buffalo to defend something other than obvious passing downs. Andre Smith's 41-yard field goal midway through the fourth quarter made it 23-20. Suddenly, the game tightened. Buffalo's offense, which has been explosive late in games all season, stalled. Josh Allen, who had already battled through a foot scare after a violent tumble near the goal line late in the first half, wasn't asked to do much more than manage. He finished with modest numbers, 12 of 19 for 130 yards, but that was enough because Cleveland had the ball. Twice, with the chance to change everything. The first opportunity unraveled quickly. 4th and 2, Sanders never saw the blindside pressure. The sack killed the drive instantly. No chance, no improvisation. Just a moment where pocket awareness failed at the worst possible time. Then came the second chance, gifted by Buffalo itself. Allen's 4th and 1 pass was dropped in the end zone by Dawson Knox. The door reopened. The stadium leaned forward. This was it. And again, Sanders couldn't close it. another sack. Then intentional grounding just outside his own end zone while trying to escape pressure that never really needed to turn into a panic play. It was a sequence that screamed inexperience, not lack of talent, but lack of situational command, knowing when to eat a play, knowing when a sack is better than a safety-adjacent penalty, knowing that sometimes the smartest move is the least heroic one. That sequence effectively ended the game. Yes, Buffalo needed Josh Allen's legs and arm to bleed the clock afterward. Yes, James Cook set the tone early. Yes, Cleveland dealt with injuries and a roster stretched thin. All of that is true, but quarterback games are decided in moments, not totals. Sanders showed enough to keep the conversation alive. He wasn't overwhelmed, he made throws, he competed, he took hits and kept going. But when the game narrowed to its sharpest edge, 2 chances, late against a playoff team, he didn't elevate. And that's the problem for Cleveland. This franchise isn't just looking for competence anymore. It's looking for clarity, for a reason to stop cycling through maybes. Sanders didn't lose the job Sunday, but he didn't seize it either. The flashes remain intriguing. The mistakes remain costly. And until those 2 curves cross, the Browns' quarterback questions will keep resurfacing, week after week, season after season. Sunday wasn't a collapse. It was something more uncomfortable. It was confirmation that the answer still isn't clear.